In IT, you need to be gracious. I'm going to tell you a quick story about being gracious in IT. This is something you have to learn to practice continually because you're working with people. And you have to always think the person is more important than the technology. Okay? The value of the person is more important than the value of the technology. All right, get that hammered in. So I'm sitting in my office, which is basically a glorified closet with a window in it. And I hear this knock at the door and this voice, soft voice outside saying, Mr. Morrison, I can't get into my email. So I go up to this teacher's classroom and we open up the computer, and she had just gotten in that morning and she'd been having issues with her email, I guess, for a few days. And so we open up her computer, and it was back in the first generation iBook G3 that came out. The Mac iBook G3 from Apple. So that had come out. We were part of some grant that got a bunch of these in the school, and the teachers were really not familiar with these at all. Anyhow, she opens up the computer and we turn it on, and it boots up, and it is so slow. It is, starts to get to the desktop screen. You get to the login screen. We got past the login screen, and we got to the desktop screen, and boom, 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 boom. All these icons start popping up on the screen. And it's just taken forever for this thing to load. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, look at all these icons. This is crazy. And so she says, well, please don't tell my husband. Her husband was very tech savvy. She was like, please don't tell my husband. He didn't really work at the school or anything, but it was just like, I knew him. And she's embarrassed that, she's got all these icons on the desktop. So finally her computer loads. And I mean, you could not see a stitch of what the background picture was. It was absolutely covered. So I go into, it's so slow. I can't do anything with the icons on the desktop, like to try and clean that up. But I told this person, hey, look, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to see if I can just get all these little icons in their own little folder. And then you can delete them as you want. So a lot of them were these little PDF files, had pages from stories and things that they were part of some reading group that they would download these and they would read them to their students. And so I moved all these icons using the Finder. I had to go open the Finder because it actually couldn't even work in the desktop at all. I had to open the Finder on the Mac, and then I browsed to the desktop. 1,250 icons, okay? That is, it was just crazy. So I'm thinking through this, and I'm like, oh my goodness. Back then, I was even thinking, man, I need to start a book, or I need to do something with this. These are great stories. So I created a little folder for her called Old Icons or something, and I just moved everything over to it, and her computer was breathing so much easier. I said, all right, problem solved. I go back down to my office. She was like, oh, thank you, and then not 5 minutes later, I hear a knock at the door. Mr. Morrison, I still can't get into my email. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So I go up and we look in her email, and we were using a service back then called First Class. I don't know if anybody's familiar with First Class servers anymore, but it was an email system that we had at school. And so we open it up, and I kid you not, there are 13,000 unread email messages. Almost every one of them had an attachment. And then the light bulb moment, grew from Despicable Me, right? Light bulb. And so I had this light bulb moment. I'm like, oh my goodness, here's what's going on. She's actually opening up these various emails with these reading things in them. And she's got herself on so many lists that these things are just coming in all the time, and she's clicking on it, and then guess where she had the default location to download them to? The desktop. So click happy. And again, she's like, please don't tell my husband. And I said, don't worry about it. And to this day, I haven't said anything to her husband. And if she watches this video, don't worry, my lips are sealed. You have to be gracious with people as you work with them. You know, some people have a default of kind of just like, man, that's a really stupid thing to do. Don't do that. Don't put all these icons on your desktop and oh my goodness, clean out your email every once in a while for Pete's sake and just harp on them and make them feel like an idiot. You have to be gracious with people in IT. Extend the hand of grace. That is going to help you build trust with the people that you work with, and it's going to go a very long way as far as IT support goes. Because when they have a problem, guess who they're going to come to? They're going to come to you. And guess who's going to learn how to solve their problem? You are. And guess who's going to better themselves in the process? You are. And guess who's going to really feel good about themselves? You are and they are. Because they know that I've got somebody in IT that cares about me and wants to see me grow.